Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be on this planet of ours. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody here to our show tonight, and thank you for being here. Folks, we're going to start off this broadcast as we have in the past while by singing. Well, first we're going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, then we're going to sing the National Anthem. Would everybody please rise?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you make welcome, straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Oh yeah! Come on, folks, let them know it.
America's finest, ladies and gentlemen, the United States Army Barbershop Quartet, coming to us from the Barbershop Quartet Convention in 2015. The host of the Barbershop Quartet Convention gave us the Pledge of Allegiance. We appreciate these gentlemen immensely, as we have done for a couple years now. We love our military. I personally I've worked around military most of my life because my father was a sailor. He was in the United States Navy. I've worked around Air Force. I used to be in the Air Force ROTC, and I played around with it at college. I should have continued. But regardless, I love our armed forces, our military, our Army, our Marine Corps, our Air Force, our Navy, our Coast Guard, and our Space Force. God bless these gentlemen and women who put their lives on the line every day that we might have a peaceful place to live and sleep. I also want to thank our allied military, wherever they might be. God bless you, and may you all return home to your families in safety after your tours of duty end. God bless you all. Thank you so much for your service. Folks, we have a lot to talk about tonight. I first want to talk about something that is really bugging me, and it should be bugging each and every one of you. I'm going to play a 7-minute segment from Fox News this morning. I would like you all to please pay close attention to this, and we can discuss it after we get through listening and watching this segment.
First, though, stopping the spread not of COVID but of classified information. The White House scrambling to contain the biggest leak we have seen in 10 years. Experts say the damage is already done and more could be on the way. Good morning, big morning here. I'm Bill Hemmer. Good morning to you at home. Hello, my lady.
Good morning. How are you?
Great.
You're in a mood.
Ready to go.
He's in a mood. I'm Dana Perino.
Yes.
This is America's Newsroom. The Pentagon is scrambling to figure out who is responsible for the leak. It contained dozens of top secret documents. It exposed military secrets and how the U.S. spies on both its adversaries and its friends.
So, Dana, that's making for some very awkward conversations. It requires damage control on a global scale, and that is tough to do. Meanwhile, the U.S. is ramping up a criminal investigation into all this. The CIA Director Bill Burns talked about it haltingly, let's say. Rice University. Listen.
The deeply unfortunate leak of classified documents is certainly as intense as anything, and that now part of the inbox as well. And, you know, it's something that the U.S. government takes extremely seriously. The Pentagon and the Department of Justice have now launched a quite intense investigation to get to the bottom of this. There's not a whole lot I can add to that at this point with that investigation going on.
Reaction from Congressman Mike Lawler of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, but let's begin with Peter Doocy. He is traveling with the president in Belfast. Hi, Peter.
And we've been speaking to some of the folks traveling with the president in the bubble about these leaks and the things that are contained in it. That not just the fact that this information leaked, but we're getting some new information about what is in there, including some news about U.S. Special Forces in Ukraine. Listen.
There is a small U.S. military presence at the embassy in conjunction with the Defense Attaché's office to help us work on accountability of the material that is going in and out of Ukraine. So they're attached to that embassy and to that Defense Attaché office.
And for clarity, they are in the embassy in Ukraine, but they are not fighting.
That is right. They are not fighting on the battlefield. We are not providing enabling support on the battlefield.
This is a lie. This statement by the Pentagon was an out-and-out lie. I have pictures of our soldiers on the streets of Ukraine. I've had these pictures for months. So this guy is lying.
That is new, and so is this detail about how the White House and Biden administration officials are doing damage control while abroad. First, on the classified document leaks, what kind of questions are we getting from our allies about that?
We are making overt attempts to reach out to the relevant allies and partners to explain to them as best we know what we know, and we don't know a lot right now.
President Biden came here to Belfast to talk about the Good Friday Agreement and the 25th anniversary, but this document scandal is what is consuming just about all of the talk here on the Press Riser. Dana.
There's always something when a president goes away. Thank you, Peter.
Mike Lawler is a Republican congressman out of New York on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Sir, thank you for your time. Good morning to you. I want to hear what your thoughts are on this, but I just want to make one point. Do too many people within the American government have access to classified information? Would you start there with your hunch?
Okay, before I go any further here, I want you all to know this one thing. Okay, I was one of many people when I worked in Denver. I was one of many people that handled classified and top secret information when I was in Denver. Prior to that, as a federal police officer in San Diego, I frequently had to go in buildings where top secret files were laying wide open. Wide open. Doors were opened. We got burglar alarm calls, and when we knew the alarms were at these buildings, there was myself and about 3 or 4 other police officers that could go to these buildings and not have to stop. Why would they stop? I will tell you why. If they are not, if they do not have top secret clearance, they cannot enter those buildings. If those police officers are not rated with top secret security clearances, they are not allowed to go in those buildings. I went in those buildings on my shift. I was called back several times to go in buildings like that on the graveyard shift. Folks, this is something that everybody needs to know about. There are a lot of people that have top secret and classified document status. And every time we had to enter a building like that, we had to go through a debrief and find out what we had seen. Those people, as well as Naval Criminal Investigative Service, the Air Force people had to talk to us as well. It was incredible. There are a lot of people in the government that have classified and top secret clearances. I want to make that point perfectly clear as we go continue through here.
Clearly, we obviously are dealing with a situation where it's either incompetence or gross negligence. The White House and the administration have failed to protect classified materials here. And this comes on the heels of our adversaries like China flying a spy balloon over the entire continental United States unimpeded and collecting sensitive material and information about our military sites. And now we have this massive leak that significantly impacts our allies in Europe, in the Indo-Pacific, and of course the situation in Ukraine. And so this is frankly a calamity of epic proportions, and the administration seems extremely flat-footed and unclear about what to do.
John Ratcliffe, the former DNI under President Trump, had this to say on Fox and Friends this morning. Listen here.
This really underscores why. When our adversaries can see specific information that we have in terms of communications, it allows all of them to look and see where we're listening or how we're getting information, people who may be sources. And so that's the harm to our national security, is that those are all jeopardized.
You know, I think about all the taxpayer dollars that go into our intelligence and our defense budgets, and appropriately so. But when you have a situation like this, and a lot of that could be squandered in an instant from one leak, and you have a president of the United States now traveling overseas who refuses to answer questions from the press corps. They announced before he left that he will not be taking questions. Then you're left with a lot of people, both enemies and friends, and American taxpayers wondering, what does he think about this? What does he plan to do about it? Your thoughts on that?
Well, look, it's been one crisis after the next when it comes to national security, starting with the withdrawal in Afghanistan, which was completely botched, and obviously the lead up to the invasion in Ukraine. I just came back from a trip to the Indo-Pacific in Japan, Korea, and Taiwan, and there are serious questions about American leadership. And this administration, and this president in particular, have been asleep at the switch. And it is a major problem. And when you look at the crisis in Ukraine, and the fact that, our intelligence and potential sources and folks who cooperate with our intelligence agencies are now put in jeopardy, especially in Russia, that is a significant breach. There is no question this is a form of espionage, and we need to get to the bottom of it extremely quickly. Lives are at risk, and the situation in Ukraine is critical. And for this information to get out in the manner that it did,
and expose potential sources and folks who cooperate with our intelligence agencies. This is deeply alarming, and the administration needs to be way more aggressive in getting to the bottom of it, and not so laissez-faire about it, as if this is just some, Wednesday morning. I mean, this is serious,
well,
and they need to take it
Bill Burns
seriously.
takes it seriously. You listened to his comments yesterday. He's on it. We'll see whether or not we get through it. Macron's sucking up to Beijing. Meanwhile, we're spending billions in Ukraine, and you got this out there in the public domain.
Yeah.
Sir, thank you for your time.
Okay, that's the end of that part of that segment. What I want to make perfectly clear here, is this is not over. This could put each of our lives in extreme danger. We have a lot of enemies that are very close to coming ashore and attacking us. Okay? I also have some knowledge. Somebody in one of our Facebook Messenger groups had a picture that they put out of our military reserve force over on the West Coast. I'm not even going to say where, but they were over on the West Coast. Folks, we are preparing for something that's going to happen. I think all of you are very aware of what I'm talking about here. We are preparing for one of the worst scenarios that we have ever seen in our lives, or even the people that ever have lived here in the United States of America have ever seen. We're preparing to be attacked. And this information leaks out. China, Russia, Iran, Iraq. Amazing, guys. Amazing. Korea, Northern Korea. We have people that want us dead. And this stuff leaks out. Information that we had on these countries and even our allies that now cannot trust us because this information is leaked out. Every country, I believe every country has information on us as well. And I believe every country here in this world has information on other countries as well, because they have to deal with it. Their survival also depends on the information that they can glean from various sources, even from their very friends. The United States does the same thing, so that we can adequately be able to help protect them. But not just protect. We have to verify stories. We have to verify information. And now, guess what? All of our classified documents that have leaked may mean an end to our way of life. That's why I played that for you. This is a very, very serious leak. This is the worst leak in our history. I want to make that clear. This is one of the worst leaks in our history. Okay? Now, I didn't see too many other news channels even talking about it. That's why I played this for you today. This is very, very serious. This could be deadly. This could constitute an emergency, a disaster of epic proportions. Everybody, guys, I'm talking not just about the people in our chat. I'm talking about everybody that listens to this program. I hope that everyone who is led to this program will listen to what we just said. This is ultimately one of the most dangerous positions we've ever been in. You need to be prepared, folks. We've talked about emergency preparedness a lot on this channel, and before that on our other channel that we had. I've been doing this for 4 years. I've been talking about earthquakes and volcanoes and floods and fires, tornadoes, hurricanes, shootings, cyclones, weather, all kinds of things. Folks, this could mean the end of our society as we know it. We need to be ultimately prepared for anything that could possibly happen. Not just individual disasters or emergencies. We need to be prepared for war. We need to be prepared, 1, to defend what is ours. 2, we need to be able to have those things that we need to survive. An emergency supply kit, food storage, water storage, medical supplies. We've talked about all of this in past programs. Again, I will highlight something right here. Anytime you see preparedness in the top line of our programs, anytime you see preparedness in the headline of our program, that individual program is one of the most important programs that you can watch because it details emergency preparedness information. And everybody needs to see that. And I'm going to go through and pull up information in my files that I have here, and I'm going to go through the files that we have online on our website that you guys have access to just below this program in the program description. I'm going to go through all the files that we have. I'm going to put information all on the line here so that you can have it. Yes, you can go to the files sharing area on our website and pull up all kinds of emergency preparedness information, and you need to be doing that. You need to be doing that almost immediately so that you can be prepared. We've talked about emergency preparedness planning. We've talked about food. We've talked about food storage. We've talked about emergency supply kits and what goes in those supply kits. We've talked about water storage. We talked about protecting ourselves. We talked about almost every facet of preparedness. And folks, we need to be that kind of person right now. One of my dear friends over in Colorado is very well prepared. Occasionally, she'll come up here in the chat and talk to you all about preparedness. She's very well prepared. I'm asking each and every one of you to get just as prepared as she is. This is vitally important for our own safety and our own well-being and being together with our families. Family is the most important unit in our world, in our communities, in our neighborhoods. Families is number one. Each and every one of us are number one. We need to protect what is ours, our family. Our family. You need to get to that immediately, if not sooner. Okay? Carolyn Martin says she received a 4Patriot delivery of 3 years of food. I've got similar food here and other supplies I've also gotten from 4Patriots. We talked about this the other day. Okay? I always keep this here with me. Okay? This is a good example of a 72-hour kit of food. This is food. Okay? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and some snacks here. 72 hours worth of food. And you can get it from 4Patriots. Okay? Their telephone number in case you don't have it. Let me lower this microphone so you guys can hear me. I'm not sure whether everybody can hear me. Folks, I'm hoping you can hear this. If you need to call 4Patriots right now, or when we get off the air, you can reach them at 1-800-607-3733. 800-607-0943. That's 800-607-0943. I encourage you to call for Patriots, and you can tell them that I asked you to call. They have specials going on. And maybe if you mention my name, you can take advantage of some of those specials until they sponsor this program, and then we will work out another situation where you can get discounts for mentioning our program. But folks, this is time right now. This is the fourth and goal. I believe this is the fourth and goal. We do not have any more time. Okay? I am hoping I'm wrong. I am hoping I am dead wrong. But we have China breathing down our necks right now, because the Chinese president came here to the United States and spoke to the president and spoke to congressmen and senators here in the United States. Then one of our senators visited Taiwan. China did not like that. And while he was there, the Chinese military surrounded Taiwan Island with a huge aircraft carrier and many other battleships and destroyers. China doesn't even have to be given a reason, and we could be all over. It could happen in the blink of an eye. Russia doesn't like us very much either right now, and they don't care. They don't care. Mr. Biden, JB, or Joey, he does not even have contact with China or Russia right now. They will not answer his calls. And I understand Iran is in the same boat. And I think President Macron from France is in the same boat, because they have been lied to by the United States. We have some heavy hitting to do. The United States of America has some heavy repenting and apologies that may fall on dead ears, for lack of a better word. We need to be prepared, and we need to be prepared right now. Okay? Right now. Now I want to show you another picture. I'm going to talk about what is going on with this in just a second. I want to show this to you. This is very, very important as well. Right here. Okay? This is a picture of sandbags. It was 83 degrees in Salt Lake City today. 83 degrees in Salt Lake City today. Guess what? Remember all that snow that is in the Salt Lake City, Utah mountains? Guess what? It's melting. If it melts too fast, there will be extreme flooding all over Utah. The snow is just not around Salt Lake City. North to south and east to west, there's been snow. There's two different set of mountains in Utah. The Ochre Mountains and the Wasatch Mountains. They all got snow. Tremendous amounts of snow. The reservoirs are already full. So now there's going to be flooding. The reason I put this picture up here right now is because all of us need to be prepared. If you have a dam that may come apart, if you even think that there may be a dam above you at any location that might come apart or that could come apart, you need to get yourself some sandbags. If you live in an area with a lot of rivers and lakes that could flood, you also need to get your sandbags. This will help prepare you to guard your home and protect your home and all that you've done to be self-sufficient. A lot of people are leaving their homes because they did not prepare. Brand new homes that just got finished being built have already been abandoned because they've been flooded out. I'm asking each and every one of you to be prepared, even with sandbags. Okay? This is in Salt Lake City. Okay? Did you know you can find sand and sandbag locations all over Salt Lake County? Multiple locations in several cities in Salt Lake County have sand and bags free for residents from Cottonwood Heights. Cottonwood Heights on the east. Murray, which is just south of Salt Lake City. Mill Creek, that's just south and east of Salt Lake. Draper, that's quite a distance from Salt Lake, about 25 miles south of Salt Lake. Taylorsville, that's one of the suburbs southwest of Salt Lake. South Jordan, further south. Salt Lake City itself. Midvale, Utah, where I used to live before I lived in Santa, Utah. Holiday, Utah, which is just south and east of Salt Lake City as well. And Immigration Canyon, which is east of Salt Lake. All these people that have homes up there in the hills and the foothills, and what they call the East Bench, the foothills of the mountain range, need to be prepared. People living in the foothills of the Wasatch Mountains and the Ochre Mountains need to be very prepared, because all that snow that you got is going to be melting in these temperatures. We were told earlier in the week, I believe it may have been Saturday, when we were first advised that Salt Lake City was going to go from freezing temperatures to 83 degrees this week. Last week they had freezing temperatures and snow. This week the snow is melting. Incredible climate change in Salt Lake City. And no, it's not the kind of climate change that the Democrat Communist Party puts out. This is completely different. What I'm talking about, guys, I'm talking about preparedness. And every one of us needs to be prepared. Not just me, not just Carolyn, not just Dawn, not just Diana, Sleeping Volcano, whoever. Everybody needs to be prepared. And I'm giving you information to help you do that. In your towns, in your cities where you live, I'm sure there are sandbags available if you need them. But you need to start planning for it right now. It's springtime. You need to plan it right now, or it's going to be too late. Okay? Anyway, we talked about volcanoes yesterday. Folks, this is a volcano in Anchorage, Alaska. Or not Anchorage, I'm sorry. This is a volcano in western Alaska. This is a volcano in southeastern Alaska. This is Edgecombe Volcano. Look what we're seeing there. Look what we're seeing there. Besides magma here. Yes, there's magma. Okay? There's several times that they shut down the seismograph as well. You can see those times. But look right here where you see that red line. The red line is computer generated. There happens to be an earthquake at Edgecombe Volcano. An earthquake that's not reported. Just like we've talked about earthquakes and tremors at the volcanoes in the Pacific Northwest. This is north of there. This is southeastern Alaska. And near Edgecombe Volcano, there's another volcano called Sitkin Volcano. Well, guess what? They've all had some earthquakes. They've all had some earthquakes. Okay? I want to make it very clear. Things are happening, ladies and gentlemen. Things are happening whether you want to believe it or not. We could have another volcano erupt in southern Alaska. This is Makushin Volcano. This is Makushin or Makushin Volcano here. Look at the earthquakes that are hitting this volcano here. You can see the magma coming into this volcano here. You can see the magma pulse signals of the where it shows a lot of magma and lesser magma coming into the volcano. Look at the earthquakes here. Look at the earthquakes here. These volcanoes, one, should always be respected. Two, when there's earthquakes, guys, these volcanoes are preparing for an eruption. Whether the Alaska Volcanic Observatory wants to put it out, whether USGS will allow the Alaska Volcano Observatory to put it out, or whether the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory would allow them to put it out, you need to be prepared. I want to show you another one here. This is Tanaga Volcano, also in Alaska. Look at the earthquakes here. Look at the earthquakes here. You can see these horizontal lines. These are every 20 minutes. Each of these lines represents a 20-minute time period. You can tell when the seismograph is turned off. You can also see two good-sized earthquakes here. The second one, that's the largest one here, guess what? This one is at least a 3.5 to 4.0 earthquake. I'm going to say it's at least a 3.5 earthquake. That is very concerning, considering this is a volcano. Yes, a lot of magma coming into that volcano can cause rocks to fracture. That's usually what happens. But this is also a sign that an eruption may be close. Are you prepared? Are you ready to go up there in Alaska? Quite a few people here in this EMA family live and work in Alaska. That's why I'm talking about it. We talk all the time about the volcanoes in the Pacific Northwest. The Cascade Mountain Range coming from southwestern Canada all the way down into Washington, Oregon, and Northern California. We talked last night about Mammoth Volcano. Or no, was it last night or Monday night? Maybe it was Monday night we talked about Mammoth. Well, guess what, guys? This is critical. This is critical. And I'm asking you to be prepared. We told you about Shiveluch and Klyochevskoy volcano the other day, over in the Kamchatka Peninsula, that have been erupting. Somebody got scared that there might be ash coming to Washington or Oregon from Shiveluch or Klyochevskoy. Not gonna happen. The only way that could happen is if there was a major eruption up and into the stratosphere like Chevaluche did. It not only has to be up into the stratosphere, but it also has to catch the jet stream. Yes, then the jet stream could move and it could come into Washington, Idaho, going down into Nebraska and Oklahoma and Kansas, all the way south into northern Texas and back up into the eastern states. Yes, that could happen. It's not likely. That ash is more likely to stay in Alaska and up into Canada, and then it's going to rotate around the globe just like that. It's possible that Canada and the United States might get some small bits of ash. Possibly. Ash will probably travel around the world 2 or 3 times at least. And then if we get precipitation, yes, it could land on a property, on Earth, on cars, buildings. But we're not going to get as much ash as Russia did. I've seen pictures of homes, buildings, and cars covered in ash from Chevaluche and Kliuchevskoye volcanoes. You need to be aware of this, folks. Okay? So far, I do not believe that it'll come down into the continental United States. It will probably stay north in northern Alaska and northern Canada. Okay? That's what I'm telling you right now. Linda Moses says, with the increase of magnitudes of quakes around the Ring of Fire, it makes sense that volcanoes erupt. Volcanoes do not erupt when there is no subduction. Volcanoes are here because of subduction. Because of subduction. The guy that put out the video that I talked about last night in the program that we had last night, the guy that on YouTube didn't know what he was talking about. He really didn't. I couldn't believe when he said that there was no subduction in California. Really? The entire Pacific Plate is taking a nosedive underneath Canada, Washington, Oregon, and California. It's taking a deep nosedive into the center of the Earth. That's what's happening. That's what causes volcanoes. Subduction. We've talked about this a lot. A whole heck of a lot. Let me tell you about something else that has happened. This is Dimmitt, Texas. This is Dimmitt, Texas. D-I-M-M-I-T, Texas. Okay? Guess what happened in Dimmitt, Texas on Monday? There was an explosion at a Texas farm with thousands of dairy cows. Thousands of dairy cattle were likely killed, and there was one worker that was injured. One person is in critical condition in a hospital, and thousands of cows are believed to have been killed in that explosion and fire at a dairy farm in the Texas Panhandle Monday night. The explosion happened at the South Fork Dairy Farm in Dimmitt at about 7:30 p.m. A worker was trapped inside the milking facility and he was hospitalized in critical condition after being rescued by first responders. No other injuries to employees were reported. A fire from the explosion is believed to have spread through the dairy barn and the dairy building into the dairy cattle holding pens. While the number of cattle killed in the fire has not been confirmed, preliminary reports online indicate thousands of dairy cows may have been killed by the fire and the smoke. The cause of the fire has yet to be confirmed, though Castro County Sheriff Sal Riviera said that early speculation is that methane may have been ignited by overheating electrical equipment, and it was used to suck out waste from the holding pens. That's what they believe caused the fire and the explosion. Dimmitt, Texas is in Castro County and is roughly halfway between Lubbock and Amarillo, west of Tulia, Tulia. The state fire marshal in Texas is investigating the cause of the fire. Okay? Thousands of dairy cattle were killed. Now, why do you think I've told you about this particular event? This is not the first time. Dairy cows and other farm animals have been killed. Some of them purposely, and this may also have been a purposeful fire to kill off dairy cattle. Okay? We've seen this happen before. We've seen it happen a lot before, not just once or twice. Once or twice might be a coincidence. This, folks, is not a coincidence. I don't believe any of those farms and ranches that experienced explosions or had the government tell the farmers and the ranchers that their birds, their ducks, their chickens, and other animals had either CV or the bird flu or anything else, and ordered those animals killed. I don't believe any of that anymore. Too much of it has happened. There have been slaughterhouses burned down. There have been food distribution centers blow up. It's not a coincidence anymore. It was purposeful. Richard Smith says food is under attack. It absolutely is. Okay? Rochelle says, I already pay almost $5 a gallon, and it's gotten bad for just like eggs. She's right. The price of milk here was approaching $4 a gallon. It's gone down to just over 3 something now. Eggs was $24+ a flat just 8 weeks ago. It's come down to $11 a flat now. Last year before all this crap started really hitting the fan, and actually let's go back 2 years. 2 years ago, eggs were $1.29 a dozen. $1.29 a dozen. 18 eggs you could get for $2.29. A flat of eggs was $6 and change. $6, $11, that's still a $5 overage from what it was 2 years ago. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. I want everybody to realize everything has gone up. It's just not eggs and milk. Everything's gone up. All kinds of meat prices have skyrocketed. And now they kill off thousands of dairy cattle? Yeah, folks, it's not a coincidence anymore. Okay? It's just not. We need to stock our food in our homes for really bad times, and it's just about to crash on us now. Inflation is rampant around the world. Inflation is rampant around the world, and it's not going to get any better. Prices are twice what they were. We've got shortages of food because these dimwits in Washington have ordered this to happen. And now we have a leak of military secrets again. Classified intelligence secrets and top secret information has leaked out. It's not a coincidence. It was purposeful. Things are really about to go belly up here. That's why we're here talking about it. That's why we're here talking about it. Now, I wanted to talk about a few things from last night. Over on the New Madrid Fault. Okay, this is Marked Tree, Arkansas. You might remember Marked Tree, Arkansas from last night. The seismogram from yesterday showed good-sized earthquakes. I'm talking 3.5 and larger earthquakes. Not 4s, well, not, I don't think 4s. It could be 4s, but it's not 5 large earthquakes. It's not very strong 6.0 earthquakes. It's not major earthquakes either. We're talking about small to moderate earthquakes all over the New Madrid Fault area, in the center of the fault. This is what Marked Tree, Arkansas looked like today. The top of this particular seismogram is midnight last night. On this red line, the red line is just 15 minutes later than midnight. Over on the left-hand side, it's midnight. 15 minutes later, on that same side, it's 12:15. Going over here to the right, now we are talking about 12:10, 12:11 a.m. this morning. Look what happened here. Again, it started off with maybe a 1.5 tremor. Those tremors kept going. They turned into 2.0 minor earthquakes. Then they got larger. 3.0 and larger earthquakes. The top and the bottom of this particular seismic event here was cut off, which means these earthquakes are probably higher. I'm going to say they are higher than what it's showing on this seismogram, because the agencies do not want us to see exactly how strong these quakes were. Okay? But you can see what I'm showing you here. Okay? Look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Look at 8 a.m. on the black line down here towards the bottom. Look at all those earthquakes on that black line. From 8 a.m. to 8:15 a.m. on the right-hand side. 8 a.m. is over on the left, 8:15 is over on the right. Guess what, guys? Have you ever experienced an earthquake that lasted 15 minutes? We have 2.0, 2.9s here. We have 3.0s and larger here, especially over on the right-hand side, where that might be 4.0 or even 4.2. Those earthquakes are very significant. This is on the New Madrid Fault, guys. 2 years ago, this did not happen. We're having minor tremors at best. 1.5, 1.2, 1.7, 1.8. Those are all tremors. That's what was happening on the New Madrid Fault 2 years ago. 2 years ago. And look what's happened today and yesterday, and it's been going on for some time. Seismic energy has been increasing, and the number of seismic events has also increased. It's not just at Mark Tree, Arkansas. I showed you quite a few seismograms that showed significant activity all over Arkansas and Missouri last night. This is Tyronza, Arkansas, south of Mark Tree. Look at the earthquakes here. Yes, some of these earthquakes here are 2.7, 2.8, which are minor quakes. But there's also some 3.0s here as well. And there's a lot of other earthquakes here as well. Do I have to spell it out any clearer than this? The New Madrid fault is preparing to unleash a catastrophic quake. When we see tremors like this, swarms of tremors and earthquakes, it's only a matter of time before the big one hits. And that's what it looks like is going to happen. In Arkansas and Missouri, we're seeing swarms of earthquakes, and it's just not tremors. With swarms of tremors, we could expect a 3 to 4.0 earthquake or larger, a 5.0 or larger. But now you're seeing swarms of not just tremors, but swarms of minor and small earthquakes. Swarms, guys. Large groups of earthquakes, swarms, all over the center of the New Madrid fault. This is why I'm telling you, you need to be prepared. You need to be prepared. Let me show you St. John's, Missouri. St. John's Bayou, Missouri this morning. Look at that. It was fairly quiet for hours this morning until just about 7 a.m. Then the tremors started. This is nothing but tremor activity here. Nothing but tremor activity. But you need to realize what this is. This is continuous tremor, not hit and miss like we showed you at Barker Cemetery yesterday. They had hit and miss seismic activity. 1.5s, 1.7s, 2.5s, 2.8 earthquakes. Minor earthquakes there at Barker Cemetery. And that's never happened before. Never. We used to get swarms of tremors at Barker. Now they've turned to earthquakes. The same thing here. The exact same thing here applies. Tyronza, Arkansas has gotten big. St. John's Bayou has gotten big. Look at this. More tremors this afternoon. It was not just this morning. Now we have over 8 to 10 hours of seismic activity here. Continuous seismic activity. Not hit and miss, but continuous seismic activity. Okay? As I said before, a warning that needs to be put out. And I'm talking about it. The agency's not even bothering to open their mouths. The documentation is here. Whether anybody wants to realize it or say they felt it or not, the documentation is here. The seismic activity exists, and it's getting larger. It's getting larger. Now, I've also told you about California. I have critical data here for California. Southern California. Southern California today, guys. Southern California today. This is Bakersfield. This is Bakersfield off the Interstate 15 in Southern California. This is Cal State Bakersfield, where this seismograph is. This is nothing more than tremors, but like I said before, it's getting to look like continuous tremors again. Continuous tremors. Some of the tremors are larger than other times, but it's continuous tremors. That's just Bakersfield, guys. Let's show you some others here as well. Okay? Bakersfield is worse today than it was last week, but not by much. It's only increased slightly. At Barstow is different today. Barstow is significantly less. Okay? All you see here is very minor tremors, 1.1 tremors at best, and it's not continuous as we've seen tremors on the other seismographs. Okay? There's a lot of microquake activity here. 90% of this is microquake activity. There's a little bit of tremors here as well. There's quite a few tremors, and they're all tiny tremors. Okay? Let me take a swallow of water. But this is still significant. Let's take a look at another one. Okay? Now, I told you where the Anza Gap is. The Anza Gap. It goes from like Redding towards the desert of California down into North San Diego County. Northeastern San Diego County. That is called the Anza Gap. Okay? I'm going to show you Cabazon. Look at this, guys. There's not one earthquake on the USGS map at Cabazon. There's not one earthquake listed on the USGS map today in Cabazon, California. Look what I'm showing you here. Not only is there not just one tremor here, there are multiple tremors, and some of these tremors lasted quite a while. For example, this first one over in the blue here at the top left. It lasted 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes long. Yes, folks, that event right there, that tremor was no more than a 1.5 tremor at any time. A 1.5 magnitude tremor at any time. It started off less, and if you go out to the right after the main part of the tremor ended, it still lasted another 6 or 7 minutes after that, but very minor. Every one of these tremors that you see here are continuous tremors. They continue for 6 or 7 minutes, then they die out. Okay, I wanted to show you this because they have only put 1.5 or 1.2 at Cabazon in the past, and today they don't show any. This is proof. This is proof positive that there are earthquakes and tremors happening out here in the Anza Gap. They can't deny it. There's plenty of evidence out here. The seismic energy is real. Let's go over to Fontana. Okay, last week I showed you the seismogram in Fontana. This is Cal Electric. It's a business in Fontana. Look what this seismograph shows. Yes, it has a lot of tremors. But guess what? See those lines at the top? The black and the red lines at the top? Those are just more than tremors. That red line on the top left is at least a 2.3, 2.4 minor earthquake. You see over here on this top line, if you see red, black, or blue earthquakes reaching up into the white paper, those are significant tremors and earthquakes. 2.0 earthquakes. Yes, I see a lot of tremors here too, but I see some increased seismic activity, and it's continuing. Throughout this seismogram, I see plenty of minor earthquakes that might even be considered to be small earthquakes, 3.0 and larger. Look at the bottom line here. The green and the black spikes at the bottom line. Now we're seeing 3.0 earthquakes here at the bottom. And there are also 3.0 earthquakes spread out through this entire seismogram. It's just not tremors. Okay? This is in Fontana, California. The 3.0 earthquakes may not be felt, but 3.5s can be felt and usually are. 3.5s will result in you feeling tremors beneath your feet. Prior to that, you probably won't feel it. But 3.5 and higher, you're going to see feel movement under your feet. You might see jiggling of knickknacks and books and other things on the shelves. You get into 4.0 moderate earthquakes, then you're going to have pictures falling down off the walls. You might have some books fall out of bookcases and knickknacks fall on the floor. This, folks, is proof positive that there's a seismic increase going on here in Fontana, California. This is eastern Southern California. This is Orange County, California. Now, I want to go offshore for a little bit, just a few minutes. Let's take a quick jump offshore. This is the Channel Islands, offshore from Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, Ventura area. Okay? You can see the Channel Islands out here. San Miguel, Santa Rosa, Santa Cruz, Anacapa. And down below that is Santa Barbara Island, San Nicolas Island, excuse me, and Santa Catalina. Folks, they had seismic energy as well. Look at this. This is the Channel Islands, folks. Look at that. Now, there is one good-sized earthquake here. The top of this seismogram is 5 a.m. in the morning. We move down here on this blue line on the left center here. Okay? This is 8:30 on the left-hand side. We move over 1, 2, 3 minutes after that. Okay? So we have 8:33 a.m. this morning. There was at least a 3.0 earthquake. We can see the top of it. We can't see the bottom of it because it's covered in color from earthquakes or tremors after that. But this is at least a 3.0 earthquake. From what I can tell, the rest of the seismic activity is nothing but tremors. No microquakes here at all. This is just tremors. This is significant. This is offshore from Los Angeles. Okay? So I showed you that. Let's go out east again to Chino, California. Okay, this is Chino. There is not much change in seismic activity in Chino, California today from last week. We showed you the data from last week. Okay? Yes, we have some serious tremor activity here. Over on the right center here at the very top. Okay? This again is 5 o'clock over at 5 a.m. this morning on the far left side. So folks, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 5:19. No, I'm sorry. 5:09 a.m. this morning. 5:09 a.m. this morning. We can see the top of this earthquake, unless it was off the paper, in which case this may have been close to a 2.5, 2.7 magnitude earthquake, a minor earthquake here. The rest of these are all tremors here. Every last one of them here. Each line here represents 15 minutes of time after 5 a.m. going to 1300 over on the left-hand side, which is 1 p.m. at the bottom black line. Okay? Those are all tremors. Only one good-sized earthquake here as well. Okay? Let's continue. I want to go now to Del Amo, up in northern Los Angeles. Look what's happening at Del Amo. This is not quite as bad as last week's. Last week we had quite a few earthquakes here. Now, today, all we have is tremors. All we have here is tremors. It could be worse. Del Amo last week included some 2.5 and 3.0 earthquakes. Those could continue and come back. It's very possible they will come back again, and soon. Let's talk about Ellis, California, also in Los Angeles County. Look at Ellis. Ellis has calmed significantly down. This is nowhere near where it was last week. But look, we still have some significant tremors. Not earthquakes, but tremors here. Okay? This seismogram here starts off at 5 p.m. 5 p.m. last night, and it continues here. So just after 8 p.m. last night, we had some significant tremor activity within 2 minutes after 8:30 p.m. last night, about 8:32. And then about 5 minutes later, there was another tremor here. And then later, just after about 11:09 p.m., excuse me, not 11:09, 11:39 p.m. last night, there was another significant tremor here. Okay? But like I said before, there's no other tremors here at all. Just microquakes after that. The top 4 hours is just tiny tremors. Then we had a few other larger tremors, but after that, it settled down to nothing more than microquake activity, what they call background. That's Ellis, California. Now I want to go over to Los Angeles. Okay? This is Los Angeles. This is coming from the city-county building in downtown LA. Okay? Nothing here but just tiny tremors and microquakes. This is coming from the Emergency Preparedness Emergency Operations Center in the basement of that big tall building in Los Angeles. Okay? This has also considerably come down from what it was last week. I'm a little bit surprised. Okay? Now, I want to show you Laguna Niguel. We showed you this last week. This has also seriously calmed down. Last week at this time, this was completely covered in tremors. Yes, there are some small tremors here, but that's all this is. Nothing more than tremors anywhere on this seismogram. So it's calmed down here. Laguna Bell. Let's show you some more here. Let's go over to North Hollywood. North Hollywood is also settled down as well. Now you see these wavy lines here. This has nothing to do with magma. This also has nothing to do with anything. These wavy lines are all abstract. They're lies. They're meant to deceive what is actually going on. When you see these thicker lines, or you see what looks to be a seismic event, that's what it is. But these wavy lines have nothing to do with anything. Down here, over on this black line, towards the bottom of this seismogram, let me enlarge this for you. This is 2 a.m. this morning. 2 a.m. this morning. All you see is a significant increase in seismic energy, in tremor activity. It went from 1.1 all the way up to 1.3 here in about 4 or 5 minutes. Then it died off. There's other 1.2, 1.3 activity up above it on the blue line up here towards the upper right, or not upper right, but the middle center right here. Other seismic activity here too. But these wavy lines don't have anything to do with anything. They're trash. If we had solid horizontal lines, that's a completely different story. But these wavy lines don't make they're not worth a hill of beans. Okay? That's what's happening here. Now folks, I'm trying to pay attention to the chat. I have not paid close attention. Okay? I have not paid close attention, but I'm trying to give you information. I'm trying to show you what is going on. Okay? Now I know you guys are talking and saying hi to each other, and you shook the hand. Susie Fujinagi saying Fujinaga is saying she shook the real hand of Roy Rogers. So did I. Okay? This, folks, is the chat of a significant channel here, an emergency preparedness channel. Please, folks, please keep your conversations fitting to what we're talking about. Yes, I'm also keeping a little eye on the chat, so I might answer any questions. But please, folks, please pay attention to what we're talking about. Starbright Pam is asking, do the geysers, please. The geysers in Northern California. But let me tell you this, guys. There was a significant increase in seismic activity at the geysers. But what you need to realize about the geysers in California, and I've explained this before, the geysers in California is a geothermal facility where man has drilled into the upper magma chambers of the Clear Lake volcano to harvest steam from the volcano and then transport that steam over to turbines to power turbines to generate electricity at the geysers, to generate electricity for Pacific Gas and Electric and another electric conglomerate that supplies electricity to Utah. Okay? I've seen it. I've seen it. And I was one of the people that paid my bill to that electricity conglomerate. 4 different power companies take power from the geysers power facility. It's nothing more than men having drilled into the upper magma chambers of the Clear Lake volcano, and then they have plastic white pipelines transporting all of the steam over to the boilers, the turbines, to generate electricity. I shouldn't say boilers. They are turbines to generate electricity. That's what's going on there. Let me get out of this frame right here, and I will show you what the geysers is for those of you that have not seen it before. Okay? I've shown you this before. I'm going to show you it again, because apparently people don't realize it still. And Starbright Pam, you're not the only one, so don't feel picked on. You're not the only one that has asked this question. I've had this question asked several times in our groups over on Messenger. We have several messenger groups. We have like 5 different messenger groups. One of them is Quakes and Volcanoes. Quakes and Volcanoes. As you see here, there's a red dot here. This red dot is an earthquake that just happened. This is a 1.9 tremor in Milpitas, California. Milpitas, California. Right there is the San Francisco Bay area. You see the entrance from the Pacific Ocean here into the San Francisco Bay. That's where ships and boats come in from the ocean into the harbor. Okay? Let's go north, up to the geysers here. The geysers are approximately 100 miles north of San Francisco Bay. Okay? There is the main point of the geysers there. Down here is Angwin, California. This was a 2.1 magnitude earthquake down here in the south. It has nothing to do with the geysers, except for seismic activity or seismic energy that found a small hole, an earthquake fault, and let release on seismic energy. That's what that 2.1 is. But up here, right here, this is all part of the geysers power facility. Right here, this is one of the tremors here that just happened. It was red. It's a 0.8 microquake. There's one other here. Let me show you. Okay, this is a 0.3 microquake. Usually there's microquakes, there's tremors all over this area. Look at that. There's probably 60 earthquakes or tremors right here. I have not counted them today. But each of these tremors here are as a result of man drilling into the upper magma chambers of a volcano to bring steam to those turbines. Let me show you the volcano. The volcano is right here. This is a clear lake. It's a volcano. A few months ago, we actually had some earthquakes here at the volcano. Why do you suppose we had earthquakes at the volcano? Why? Because, folks, all of the volcanoes are recharging. Magma is coming up from deep in the South Pacific. Very deep magma plume into the center of the earth comes up in the South Pacific. And it continues into the crust of the earth. Then, from in the crust of the earth, the magma is transported to all places around the earth. The magma is transported through magma channels around the earth to the volcanoes. It's transported to Hawaii. It's transported to California, Washington, Oregon, Canada. It's transported to England. It's transported to all parts of Europe. It's transported to China and Russia and Southeast Asia. The magma is sent all over. So even the Clear Lake volcano here was getting hit with magma that caused those earthquakes. And they were just 3.5 to 4.2 earthquakes. That's all those two were. But I'm trying to point out here what is going on. Yes, we've had earthquakes at the Clear Lake volcano, but these earthquakes out here, these are in the Geysers power facility. It's in Sonoma County. If you remember, for the past few years, we've had fires here in Sonoma County. And yes, this facility may have been responsible for at least 2 of those fires, as Pacific Gas and Electric did not modernize their equipment, and they may have caused shorts in their equipment, in the electrical transport of their equipment, shorted out, causing a fire or 2 fires. Okay? Their transportation lines were not updated and caused fires when the wind came up and knocked down the power lines. Yes, wind can knock down the power lines at any time. It's done it in the past, it'll happen again. But I'm going to take a swing at Pacific Gas and Electric. This is a Pacific Gas and Electric power plant. Okay? When Pacific Gas and Electric was going through bankruptcy, you may have read about it over 3 years ago. During the time that PG&E was going through bankruptcy proceedings, they handed their upper management bonus checks. Bonus checks. If they had kept their money instead of giving out those huge $1 million bonuses, they might have been able to repair or replace their outdated equipment, which would not have caused fires. But they didn't do that. They have done very little replacement of equipment or repair of their equipment. Very little. It caused fires, and it's going to happen again, because PG&E would rather give out bonuses and take their money home than give it to employees to fix problems. Okay, that's what happens. But this facility here is nothing more than a place where seismic energy hits it because man is drilled into the crust of the earth. And when that seismic energy hits one of those man-made faults, one of those man-made holes, it fractures a rock at the hole, causing earth movement. That's why we get earthquakes here. The seismic energy finds that hole in the earth and causes it to fracture, causes rock breakage, causing earthquakes, causing the earth to move. Like I said, this whole facility, folks, and they just shut me down again. Okay, hold on, folks. This happens too frequently, and I figured what I need to do to be one step ahead of these people. So hold on. We too shall overcome. Okay, I brought it back. This time it's down south of the Bay Area. You saw that earthquake at Willits, California here. Okay, you saw that. Okay, let's go back up here, north of the Bay Area, to the Geysers facility. Okay, I'm going to show you one of the power plants here, one of the turbine facilities here. It might not take me but just a moment here to find this. There it is right there. There are 80 turbines in the mountains here north of San Francisco. 80 different turbines, meaning each one of these turbine layouts here has got 10 turbines. Each one of these facilities here in line are 10 turbines, which means there are 8 other turbine lines just like this located all throughout this mountain area. And I found them. And one of these days, I will show you every one of the turbine complexes, every one of the facilities here. There's 80 turbines up here in them there hills. Okay? And those turbines take that hot steam from the volcano and turn it into electricity. Okay? That's what it looks like. This is exactly what it looks like. Okay, let me move that over so you can see it better. Sorry about that. Now you can see it adequately. I'm sorry I blocked it. Okay? So now you know what that is. Okay? Now you know why there are earthquakes there, why we have tremors there. Monday we had a 4.5 earthquake here. Highly irregular. It doesn't used to be that high. It doesn't usually have that higher earthquake. That 4.5 was a mid-range earthquake, a moderate earthquake. We don't get those very often here. Usually they're just microquakes and tremors. Sometimes a 2.5 magnitude earthquake, minor earthquake, or even a small 3.0, 3.2. It's not often we get a moderate earthquake. It happened Monday. Okay? But that's what happens here at the geysers. So now you know why we have all these earthquakes here. There's about 60, I believe, there's probably about 60 earthquakes in this area right here. Okay? So that's what's going on here. Does there anybody have any more questions about the geysers before I go back and talk about what's happening in Southern California? Any other questions? Kimberly's going nighty-night. Good night, Kimberly. We love you. Thank you for being here. Okay? You're awesome, lady. You're very awesome, my friend. Rob says they're just drilling into it. That's exactly it. I do not think that they have drilled any new holes here. I do not think that they've drilled any new holes here in the geysers facility. Okay? I've done a lot of research on Google Earth, and I've gone over to the internet. I don't believe they've dug any more holes. I think these holes are ones that have existed for quite some time. Okay? Joanne says, yes, there's a fault run east to Salt Lake City, Utah. Folks, not necessarily. There are faults everywhere. Small ancillary faults to the larger faults. I don't believe there's a fault that runs from down here in California over to Salt Lake City at all. Salt Lake City has their own mountain range. Okay? There's a reason for it. Okay? There's a good reason for it. Okay? This is Pyramid Lake in the east of the Sierras, northern Sierras of California. That's Pyramid Lake. It's in the hills. Guess what? There happens to be the Walker Lane Fault that runs south from the pyramid, from Pyramid Lake here. It runs south through the Walker Lane, all down the Walker Lane Fault here. It connects over in Imperial Valley with the San Andreas, believe it or not. Okay? That's what's happened there. But as for earthquakes running southeast to northeast or northwest or wherever, that usually doesn't happen. And I'm going to show you in just a minute. This is Salt Lake City, Utah today. This is Salt Lake, the Great Salt Lake right here. Okay? Over here we have an earthquake. Okay? This is at the foothills of the Wasatch Fault. The foothills of the Wasatch Fault. This is Corinne, Utah. Okay? These mountains here are the Wasatch Mountains. Okay? They run all the way up to southeastern Idaho. Southeastern Idaho. This, folks, is Wyoming. Okay? So it runs about halfway up there into southeastern Idaho. And you can see it here. Let me try to zoom in here. You can see the Wasatch Fault right here. It runs down here in southeastern Idaho, then it comes around and goes here just east of Salt Lake City, east of the Great Salt Lake. Okay, it goes all the way down here into central Utah. The Wasatch Fault stretches all the way down to central Utah. The Wasatch Fault is divided into 7 segments. 7 different segments. There could be a 6.5 to a 7.5 earthquake that could happen any time on the Wasatch Fault today. Either one segment, 2 or 3 segments, or all 7 segments could go at the same time. One segment could experience that 6.5 or 7.5 earthquake, or all of them could, or several of them could. The Wasatch Fault is a very dangerous fault, a very dangerous earthquake fault. When I first moved to Salt Lake City, Utah in 2010, I was told by emergency managers there, "Oh, Ron, we won't see anything more than a 6.5 earthquake." 6.5 is big enough. 6.5 can do a lot of damage to Salt Lake City or anywhere else up and down the fault. And yes, there are some major cities up and down the entire Wasatch Fault. Cities from 5 to 50,000 people or larger. Salt Lake City itself, throughout the downtown stretching out into the metro area of Salt Lake City, is 2.5 million people. So you can imagine what happened several years ago when I lived in Salt Lake City. We had a 5.6 magnitude earthquake. The 5.6 magnitude earthquake was right here in Magna, Utah, just south of the Great Salt Lake. The 5.6 epicenter was right here in Magna, Utah, a suburb of Salt Lake City, kind of a rural suburb. Okay? They have a lot of streets and houses, stoplights and gas stations and other businesses there. Salt Lake City is the main city. But Magna, Utah here had the 5.6 earthquake here. That earthquake, folks, affected a great part of Metro Salt Lake. I was 25 miles away that morning when that 5.6 hit up here in Magna, Utah. I was 25 miles southeast of that earthquake. And I felt rumbling, my bed moved. I was sitting on the edge of my bed when that earthquake hit. And I felt my bed move. It felt like a 3.5, maybe no more than a 5 or 4.0 earthquake. No more than a 3.5, 4.0 earthquake. The bed moved. The earthquake fault was down here in the valley, in the desert area of Salt Lake. There are several other ancillary faults out here in the desert of Salt Lake City. This is comparative desert area. Okay? Sandy lake bottom. This area is what they used to call the Lake Bonneville. The Lake Bonneville, that spanned several thousand miles. Several thousand miles up and down Utah, over into Idaho. Okay? Now today, all we have is the Great Salt Lake here. To have any kind of remnant of what happened way back when. And then let me see whether I can locate it really fast. I might be able to right here. This is Bear Lake. Bear Lake goes from northern Utah into southeastern Idaho. Southeastern Idaho. I have friends that have cabins here at Bear Lake. Okay? But there is a great earthquake fault, and you can see it here. You can actually see the fault here. Okay? And it goes all the way down into Utah here. All the way down here. All the way into central Utah. This, folks, is also another lake. This is called Utah Lake. Utah Lake is south of the Great Salt Lake. Utah Lake is over near just west of Provo, Utah. Okay? But that Wasatch Fault goes down here into central Utah here. But any one of those faults, it's divided, scientists have it divided into 7 segments. Any one of those segments could go as a 6.5 or a 7.5 earthquake, or all 7 of them together. Okay, that's what comprises Utah. That's what comprises Utah. Any other questions like that? That was a great question. Joanne says, Ron, in the 70s, they said the valley will sink and slam together. I've had a dream too, but there's no liquefaction too. I don't know what you're referring to, Joanne. There could be liquefaction all over Utah. I lived in a town south of Salt Lake, 30 miles south of Salt Lake, well, 25, 30 miles south of Salt Lake, in a town called Sandy. That's where my friend Don lives. There's a reason they call it Sandy, Utah, because probably 80% of the city is located on sand. 80% of the city of Sandy is located on sand. So if they have an earthquake, guess what's going to happen? There's going to be liquefaction. The ground is going to shake. It's going to do this. Okay? The ground is going to shake. It's going to do this. And what happens when it shakes? The shaking brings up the water table. The shaking will bring up the water table. The sand will become weak and loamy. Weak and loamy. And anything sitting on that sand is going to sink. Whether it's buildings, whether it's homes, whether it's telephone poles, whether it's street signs, whether it's cars, or anybody standing there. They're going to sink into the liquefaction quicksand. That's what happens when there's loamy soil areas. It turns into quicksand. I've seen it myself happen. I used to teach people about this all the time. Okay? This could happen easily in California, anywhere in California at all. Anywhere in California at all. It could happen in Arizona. Okay? Okay. Animals and humans in disaster scene. Think what happened with the management dog, the Oakland quake, ever with the epicenter 30 miles away. The epicenter was on the Hayward Fault. Okay? Look what happened there. There was liquefaction in San Francisco there. All over. Okay? It's crazy. That's what happened. Okay? Any other questions? Broke Fish is here. Hey, it's good to see you, Daryl. Welcome. My friend Brokefish is here. Awesome. I'm glad I could help you guys. I'm glad I can help you. Okay, let me continue with these California quakes, okay? Because there's still a lot of information that I want to give you here. And this is serious, okay? This is very serious. If you don't understand it, please let me know. And yes, I understand there are many of you that don't get what is going on. And I can see where that happens. But I also need you to understand what is going on. And I'm trying to explain what these seismograms show. Many of you don't read these seismograms, and I can understand that completely. I totally get that. But I'm trying to explain what we're seeing here. Okay? Let me go back to Del Amo. Okay? Del Amo. This is just almost as bad as it was last week. And you can see the extreme shaking going on here. These are nothing but tremors. But they're constant, continuous tremors here. They don't stop. If they stop, it would be one thing. And then they start again, no problem. But these are constant, consistent tremors. Wolfman says West Valley wasn't any better. West Valley, folks, is another suburb of Salt Lake City. Okay? West Valley is out there in the same area where Magna, Utah is. It's attached. It's right next to Magma, or Magna, M-A-G-N-A, not magma as in magma beneath the ground. This is Magna, Utah, and West Valley, Utah. The cities are right next to each other there. And there was a lot of shaking in West Valley. They probably got some of the worst shaking there. They're right next to where it happened. I was 25, 30 miles south of there, and I felt 3.5, maybe 4.0 shaking at best. At best. But they were still shaking. And then I talked to Don, I talked to my friend Surgery. Yes, I do have a friend called Surgery. That's his handle here on YouTube. He's a dear friend of mine there in Salt Lake. And actually doesn't live in Salt Lake City anymore. He lives north of there now, but he was there. He definitely felt the shaking. It was unnerving to him. It was unnerving for a lot of people. Okay? There was a lot of damage. There was $1 million worth of damage in Salt Lake City. Several $1 million of damage in Salt Lake City. I saw homes with part of their walls missing. Homes with part of their walls missing. I saw driveways cracked or completely gutted, where the shaking destroyed the driveways and the sidewalks. Now, the LDS Church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, has a temple in downtown Salt Lake City. The shaking was so strong that they had an angel positioned on one of the spires of the Salt Lake Temple. The shaking was so severe that that angel lost its trumpet. That angel had a trumpet that it held on to, and that trumpet fell to the ground. That's how strong that shaking was in Salt Lake that day. Okay? That's what happened. It was a big, big deal. Rebecca just asked a question here. I'm going to try to find it. Rebecca Griffiths says, should I call my dad and tell him goodbye, that I love him, I live in another state? No. Rebecca, you don't have to worry about that right now. There's not going to be a major earthquake right now in Los Angeles. That's not why I'm talking about this. I am warning people that that earthquake is coming. It's not going to happen in the next day or two. I don't think it's even going to happen in the next week or two. but I am showing you the significant seismic activity that's happening in the Los Angeles area and all the way down into San Diego and points south, for example, down to the Salton Sea. There's a lot of seismic events happening, and I want you guys to know what's going on. Elizabeth is talking to us about Wisconsin being in wildfire state of emergency. 41 counties under a red flag warning. There's going to be even more than that all over the eastern United States by morning, tomorrow morning. Red flag warnings are here in North Carolina as well. Why? We have very strong winds and we have very low humidity. That's combined is what could cause fires. All it takes is a very small spark and there's a wildfire. I've seen it happen many times over. Many times during my life as a first responder, I've gone to help fight fires. At one time, I was a volunteer firefighter in my early years, my late teenage and early 20s. I was a volunteer firefighter in Poway, California. Later, I became a police officer. I still went to fires. A lot of fires. Okay? They happen. Everyone needs to be prepared, and it doesn't matter where you are. If you have high winds and you have low humidity, you need to be prepared for fire. I, in fact, got sent out with my partner in crime to just patrol the back hills roads all over eastern San Diego County to see if there was somebody that was going to flick a cigarette into the dry brush. And yes, we had some arsonists that were purposely starting fires that year. Yes, we caught somebody doing it. Or somebody driving off-road with a muffler that's hot that could spark one of the weeds on the ground and start a fire. That happens too. Please, folks, do not do that. Do not do that. And if you see somebody that's doing it, get a license plate number. And if you can, don't risk going out in your own car to follow them. But if they're near the roadway where you are, get out of your car and stomp on the weeds over there to make sure that they're not starting a fire. And if you see a fire go up, don't try to fight it by yourself, because you probably won't be successful and you'll burn your own feet and your legs and your other parts of your body. Don't fight it by yourself. Okay? Please don't do that. Elizabeth was saying someone said they were deploying Black Hawk helicopters to help combat the wildfires. They deploy Black Hawk helicopters and attach water tanks to them to help put out fires. That's what they do. There might be other helicopters that they put up that might be private helicopters or county helicopters that go and patrol the back hills as well. They do that. Okay? They do that. But Wisconsin has fire warnings. Other places in the Midwest have red flag fire warnings, and it's coming east here. We already have red flag warnings here in North Carolina. So that's normal, especially this time of year. And red flag season can go from this time of year all through maybe September, October, November time period. That happens. Okay? In animals and humans and disasters, 89% were arsonists. That does happen as well. Anyway, let's move on. I don't want to stay here and take all your night. I'm not going to stay here very long. I am going to tell you about a significant set of seismic events that happened over near Long Beach. This is Light Hype. This is Light Hype, California. Okay? This is not quite as bad as it was last week, but this is still pretty serious. All you see here is tremors. I don't see one earthquake here at all. Last week we had several earthquakes here in Light Hype. Okay, but this is all tremors. Nothing but small tremors. Okay? I'm talking tremors being 1.0 to 1.9 in size. Just tiny tremors. Okay? Now, just south and east of that, also near, very near that area. Okay? The place is called State Street. Also over near Long Beach. Look at this, guys. Now here we have tremors and we have earthquakes. Look at the earthquakes here, guys. This is very significant. These are earthquakes and tremors, large tremors. Not large earthquakes, but large tremors. Okay? We have small, minor earthquakes here. I don't see anything over 3.0, which is a small quake. These are minor tremors, 1.0, 1.9, and small, minor earthquakes, 2.0 to 2.9, and small earthquakes go from 3.0 to 3.9, and I don't see any of those here. These are either tremors or minor earthquakes here, but you can see them hitting here. You can see those earthquakes hitting here. 2.8, 2.9, trying to be 3.0 earthquakes. Especially look at the bottom here. You can see what I'm talking about here. This is serious, guys. The Long Beach area, that whole area there, is serious, guys. Very serious for earthquakes and tremors. I want to show you that. One other place, and then I think I'm going to end this. I'm not going to show you Imperial Valley tonight, but I am going to show you this. Okay? This is Walnut La Puente. This is just as bad as it was last week. Walnut La Puente, California. You can see it here. Yes, we have a lot of tremors here, but you can see the larger earthquakes here as well. These are 3.5, 3.8, 3.9 earthquakes. And yes, there's even some 2.0 magnitude minor earthquakes here as well. But what you're seeing here, guys, is the seismic energy getting larger here. This is Walnut La Puente over in Los Angeles area. This is still serious. Okay? This could easily turn into a 5.0 earthquake. This area right here could turn into a 5.0 earthquake. No, Rebecca, you don't have to worry about this right now. Please don't. Your father's nowhere near this. Okay? But I'm serious, guys. This is serious here in Los Angeles. This is very serious. I wanted to show you this because last week I told you that there was a good possibility of a 5.0, 6.0, 6.5 earthquake in Los Angeles, California. It's still possible. The threat is not as bad as it was last week. The threat is still there, but it's not as bad. Okay, it could still happen. It could happen in New Mexico. It could happen here where I live. It could happen in Salt Lake City. It could happen in Oregon and Washington. It could happen in Northern California again. But all I'm saying is I'm showing you this information so you can prepare yourselves. It's going to happen. I guarantee you it's going to happen. You need to be prepared. I can't prepare you any more than I'm doing, but I give you the information so that you are aware of it. If you live in these areas, you better darn well bet you need to be prepared. Jasmine is asking, what about Vernon, California? Vernon, California, you're getting minor tremors and some light earthquakes, 2.0, 2.5 earthquakes there. It's going to be larger guys, I guarantee cotton picking can tee it. I guarantee it. Things are going to happen in California very soon. Yes, California is going to see a 7.0 earthquake very soon. Whether it's in Northern California, San Francisco area, whether it's in Los Angeles or San Diego, it's coming. You need to be prepared. These seismograms suggest it's coming. That's why I'm giving you this information. You want to and need to be prepared. Okay? Please, guys. That's why we're here. Tomas says he has a question. He says, I've listened to Suspicious Observers channel on YouTube. I do too. Some time ago he said, the man said Roma or Romania will be a new Denver. What would it be about? I don't know. I didn't hear that program. Maybe I'll have to go back and look at it. Romania could be a new Denver, meaning the earth could move. The earth could move. The plates are already moving. We know that. The tectonic plates are moving. But he could have been talking about Romania, Nebraska, or whatever. I don't know. I'll have to go. I could even call him and ask him myself. I might do that. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't watch him every day. I watch him every day or two. Okay, that's how much I watch him. Jasmine this morning says in Vernon, California it was shaking. Doesn't surprise me. California is shaking all over. And if you felt that shaking, it was probably a 3.5 earthquake. You're not going to feel it until it's 3.5 or somewhere around there. 3.3, 3.5. You're going to start feeling it. After that, you're going to feel it for sure. Anything larger than a 3.5, you are definitely going to feel it. Okay? You need to be prepared. That's what we're talking about. Okay? Something is going to happen to the U.S. If you think that we're not at war already, we are. We are at war with China and Russia right now. We are at war with China and Russia. I know for a fact that our military is building up fortresses in western and eastern United States. They're trying to help protect us. I've seen military vehicles more times than I want to. I've seen military vehicles being transported by trains into California, into Los Angeles even. And the information I had from the other day, you need to be ready. War is coming. You need to be prepared. War is coming. Starbright Pam says, we're at war with the earth. You're right. It's because we have not done what we're supposed to be doing. We have not read our scriptures. We have not been in tune with the Lord. So yes, the earth is at war with us. What are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? Are we going to sit back and just let stuff happen? I hope not. I'm asking you all to be prepared. Lamb is the Light says, hello from Western North Carolina. Lamb is the Light, hello, it's good to see you. I know where you live. You know that too. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you all for being here. Before I leave, I want to leave you a thought like I usually do. I've given you this scripture before, but I think it's very important that we give it again right now. This scripture comes from one of my favorite books in the New Testament. This is Philippians. Paul's letter to the Philippians. He says in verse 26. Let me back it up. Let me back it up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to take it back to verse 24 here. Nevertheless, to abide in the flesh is more needful for you. And having this confidence, I know that I shall abide and continue with you all for your furtherance and your joy of faith, that your rejoicing may be more abundant in Jesus Christ for me by my coming to you again. Only let your conversation be as it becometh the gospel of Christ. Let me read that phrase again. Verse 27. Only let your conversation be as it becometh the gospel of Christ, that whether I come and see you or else be absent, I may hear of your affairs, that ye stand fast in one spirit, and with one mind, striving together for the faith of the gospel. That's what I'm saying to you. Lamb is the light saying, Ron's had his ears, Lord. Yeah, I have. I've had a haircut. But anyway, guys, please pay attention to verse 27 here. Philippians 1, verse 27. Let your conversation be as it becometh the gospel of Christ. That means let's share the gospel. Let's open our mouths. That whether I come and see you or else be absent, I may hear of your affairs, that ye stand fast in one spirit and with one mind, striving together for the faith of the gospel. Let's be missionaries. Let's be missionaries and talk to others about the gospel of Jesus Christ. Let's invite Christ back into our lives. Maybe, just maybe, if we have a great revival of sorts, maybe, just maybe, we might be able to turn this war off. Okay? Let's think about that. Let's pray to God that we can turn this thing off. Let's pray that we can do the right thing at the right time for the right reason. That's what I'm saying tonight. Be prepared. Do what you have to do to prepare yourselves. I'm sorry. Do what you can do to prepare yourselves and your families and those that are close to you. Prepare, prepare, prepare. Now in closing, guys, we will be back here tomorrow evening, same time, same bat station. In closing, I want to tell you this. If anything else would happen tonight, we will be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. Until then, I hope you have a great night and a better tomorrow. You guys know how you can support the channel. We've talked about that before. We have 2 PayPal addresses. We have a Venmo address where you can send support to us. We also have a P.O. Box. P.O. Box 422, Valdese, V-A-L-D-E-S-E, North Carolina. 28690 is the zip code. We appreciate all the cards and letters that we get. We appreciate any support that you give us to PayPal or Venmo. And I try to tell you how thankful I am when you send it. My last was my dear friend Donna Hayward, who sent us a support in form of a PayPal donation. We appreciate that. God bless you all for your support of this channel, to keep the channel on the air. Yes, it does take money to do that. Money to pay for bandwidth and to do the things we need to do. Okay? You guys are also helping pay some of my cancer bills. They are breaking down my doors. It's terrible. It really is. You know what, guys? I appreciate and love each and every one of you. I love you for everything that you do, not just for me, but for each other. That's what's important. Brokefish says, Tokati, Oregon is offline now, no images. Yes, I've seen that. I saw that yesterday and the day before. Tokati and various other places over in the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network .org area, it's been down. They've turned the seismographs off. Okay, that's what they've done. Anyway, guys, have a great night and a better tomorrow. I hope to see you again tomorrow night, sometime after 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, know that I think about you, know that I'm praying for you. I love each and every one of you. Each and every one of you. I always have and always will. God be with you. God be with you until we meet again. Good night, everybody. Much love.